It's interesting. The vintage fashion industry is one of the largest growing fashion industries there is in the world, and yet it still feels like you're rummaging through dead people's old knickers. And it's this sort of experience of where you never know what you might find is a good one. It's actually become a chore when you can shop on sophisticated sites. And so we decided to modernize this outdated industry. And we did it with a website called Byronesque, which is an editorial and e-commerce based website completely dedicated to vintage fashion culture. And it's interesting, the way we approached it was not in the traditional sense of what most e-commerce sites are now doing, which is everyone's got a magazine on their website and it typically sits up in the top corner, and when you get there, it's a blog that's actually just trying to hawk you product. Everything that we do on the website is designed to modernize the entire industry. The collection that we aggregate from retailers from around the world is carefully edited with items that don't make you look like you've stepped out of an Austin Powers movie or you're an extra from Downton Abbey, which is typically what happens. And we created it with a shopping experience that we went out there specifically to break most of the best practices that everyone tells you should follow, because it was really important to us to really challenge the notion that vintage fashion has to be kitsch and nostalgic. And we really believe that nostalgia is the enemy of progress, and we wanted to blow that shit up. So we created a website that ignored some best practices and really tried to move that editorial and e-commerce experience on in a very dark and sexy way rather than kitsch and nostalgic. And the key thing about Byronesque was it's got a point of view. We're not just talking product. We've actually got a perspective on culture, which is very much akin to what Douglas was talking about earlier. And the whole point is that fashion does not have a point of view. Everything that we do editorial-wise is designed to encourage people to create subcultures. There aren't any subcultures anymore. Everyone looks the same. Fast fashion brands are knocking off all the designers. The designers are struggling to find inspiration. And it's really important. Most people think that fashion is frivolous. Frankly, most of it actually is. But actually, it's really important because it's those subcultures that they morph, they fight with each other, they bifurcate, but ultimately what they do is they move things forward. So everything that we do on the website is designed to look really beautiful, create an experience where people can slow down, read, editorial about subcultures, and when things were done better the first time round, in hope that we can inspire people and challenge their imaginations and move things forward. We're anti-fast fashion, but we're very pro meaningful creativity and things with stories behind it. So this last Fashion Week, we created a small campaign called Out of Hand, and it was principally to say the fashion industry is out of hand. And we created a series of posters with quotes by some of our cultural icons. Vivienne Westwood saying to buy less, choose well. The point of the messaging was slow down, choose better things, take time to enjoy meaningful stories. We also sent a few troublemakers out, one of which, Simon Collins, is in the audience, I can see, wearing this jacket, which did get a little bit beaten up as it got passed around many of the fashion shows just to reinforce our message. And there's Simon there. So what we learned from this experience, and we've only been out a few months, but already we can tell that people really are ready for something more meaningful, something better, something more polarizing. We also learned a few other things. We learned not to over-plan things, which was interesting for me because my background as a strategic planner was to plan the shit out of everything. But what's interesting is quite quickly we've become the authority on vintage fashion, and we've had many opportunities come our way that we weren't expecting. We're co-curating a book about vintage fashion. We're helping to curate a fashion exhibit. Lots of other collaborations that we weren't expecting. So one of the lessons we learned was to be open to things that you weren't planning for. We also realized that sleep is important, and that when you're launching a new business, 4 hours is probably not enough every night. And then we also learned don't slag off your customer, but it's easier to criticise than it is to inspire. But that's the very reason that we create Byronesque. And then finally, we learned that bootstrapping may kill you, and that the kitchen office combo is probably not a good idea, but we wouldn't have changed it for anything. We've had a real fortune to work with some incredible people, many of whom are in the audience today, and I would be delighted you could find me at Gill@byronesque.com. Thank you.